The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was silent for the first time in 50 years. Where Ambassador Te-Ho usually sat, only an empty chair remained. The blue light from the massive windows cast strange shadows across the curved walls of the meeting chamber on Nexus Prime. Chairman Vexitar looked at the empty seat with growing worry. His 4 eyes blinked slowly as he tried to understand what had happened. 3 days ago, Te-Ho had walked into this same room with a simple message that changed everything. The Terran Federation is done with the Galactic Council, Te-Ho had said in his calm voice. We will not talk to you anymore. Do not try to contact us. Then he had walked out, leaving behind 50 years of friendship and trade. The other council members whispered among themselves. The Zephyrians, who looked like walking crystals, made soft ringing sounds when they talked. The Nebulites floated in their glass containers, their gas-like bodies swirling with confusion. Even the Hive Mind Collective, thousands of bug-like creatures that thought as one, seemed lost. What did we do wrong? Asked Counselor Thyssera, her crystal body flashing red with worry. The humans seemed happy with their place in the council. Vexitar pulled up the records on his screen. For 50 years, humans had been good members of the council. They followed the rules. They stayed in their small part of space. They accepted the trade deals that gave them less than other species got. They never complained when the council said no to their requests for more territory. Look at this, said Trade Minister Gorthel, his tentacles dancing over his control panel. Last month, Dr. Kyung-Soo was working with our best scientists. He was excited about the joint research projects. Why would he suddenly leave? The screen showed images of Kyung-Soo in the council's main lab. He had been studying new ways to grow food on dead planets. His work was helping many worlds feed their people. But 2 weeks ago, he had packed his things and gone back to Earth without saying goodbye. Something is wrong, Vexitar said. Species, don't just leave the council. It has never happened before. Security Chief Ralman spoke up from his corner of the room. His voice was deep and worried. Our spies on Earth say the humans are acting strange. They have called back all their people from council space. Every human diplomat, scientist, and trader has gone home. The room fell quiet again. This was bigger than anyone had thought. The humans were not just angry about one thing. They were cutting all ties with the galactic community. But why? Asked Dr. Lithara, the council's head scientist. We gave them technology. We taught them about space travel. We let them join our civilization. Vexitar thought about this. It was true that the council had helped humanity when they first reached the stars. Earth had been a primitive world with simple rockets. The council had shared some of their older technology and allowed humans to build colonies on a few small worlds. Maybe they wanted more than we gave them, said Counselor Meshatar. Young species always want to grow faster than they should. But something felt wrong about this explanation. Te-Ho had never asked for more territory or better trade deals. He had always seemed grateful for what the humans received. He often talked about how much Earth valued its friendship with the Council. On the main screen, a new message appeared. It was from Earth's President Mi Jin. She stood behind a podium in what looked like an important human building. Her face was serious but not angry. "People of Earth," she said, "today we begin a new chapter in human history. We have learned much from our time with the Galactic Council. Now it is time for humanity to walk its own path among the stars." The council members listened in shock as Mi Jin continued. "We are grateful for the knowledge we have gained, but we will no longer accept limits on what humanity can become. Our future is in our own hands." When the message ended, the chamber was quiet for a long time. Finally, Vexistar spoke. "Get me a communication link to Earth. We need to talk to them." "Sir," said his assistant, "we have tried. They are not answering any of our calls." This had never happened before. In the long history of the Galactic Council, no species had ever refused to talk. Even during wars, enemies would still send messages to each other. "What about their colonies?" asked Thisera. "Surely they will talk to us there." "All human colonies have stopped responding, too," the assistant replied. "It is like they have disappeared from galactic communication." Vextar felt a cold fear growing in his chest. The Council had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had brought peace and order to hundreds of worlds. No one had ever challenged their authority like this. "Send a ship to Earth," he ordered. "A small one with a white flag. We will show them we want peace." But even as he gave the order, Vextar wondered if it would work. There was something different about the way Tae-Ho had spoken 3 days ago. He had not seemed angry or upset. He had seemed confident. Later that day, reports came in from across the galaxy. Human trading ships were returning to Earth from every corner of Council space. Human students were leaving the Council's best universities. Even the humans who had married aliens were packing up and going home. "It is like they planned this," said Security Chief Ralmon. "They are all moving at the same time, with the same purpose." Dr. Lithara pulled up more data. "Look at this. For the past 5 years, humans have been slowly reducing their imports from Council worlds. At the same time, they have been stockpiling resources and building new factories. The evidence was clear when they looked for it. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for years. But why had no one noticed? "We thought they were just becoming more self-sufficient," admitted Trade Minister Gorthel. "We saw it as a good thing. Less dependent species are easier to manage. Now, that seemed like a mistake. The humans had not been becoming easier to manage. They had been becoming independent." As the day ended, Vextar stood alone in the great hall, looking at Tae-Ho's empty chair. For 50 years, that chair had been filled by humans who seemed happy to follow the Council's lead. They had asked for permission before doing anything important. They had accepted the Council's wisdom without question. But maybe, Vextar thought, they had been asking permission while learning how to stop needing it. The empty chair seemed to mock him now. It was not just a symbol of humanity's absence. It was a reminder that the Council might not be as powerful as they had always believed. Outside the great windows, the stars shone as they always had. But something had changed in the galaxy, and Vextar was not sure the Council was ready for what came next. 3 weeks had passed since humanity went silent, and the Galactic Council was starting to panic. Every day brought new problems that no one had expected. Chairman Vextar stared at the reports on his desk. The first diplomatic ship sent to Earth had been turned away at the edge of human space. Not attacked, not threatened, just politely told to leave. The human patrol ship that intercepted them had been different, sleeker, faster, and clearly more advanced than anything humans had shown before. "They would not even talk to us," reported Captain Gellock, who had led the diplomatic mission. "Their ship appeared out of nowhere, like it had been invisible. The human captain just said, 'This is human space. You are not welcome. Please leave.' Then they escorted us to the border." Trade Minister Gorthel waved his tentacles in frustration. "Our cargo ships are having the same problem. 3 of our biggest companies are losing money every day because they cannot deliver goods to human colonies." This was becoming a real crisis. The Council had not realized how much they depended on human trade until it was gone. Human factories made parts for alien machines. Human farms grew special food that other species needed. Human miners dug up rare metals from dangerous asteroids that no one else wanted to touch. "How did we not see this?" asked Dr. Lithara. She had been studying the trade records for days. "Humans control 30% of our industrial supply chain. How did they become so important without us noticing?" The answer was becoming clear, and it scared the Council members. Humans had been quietly taking on all the jobs that were too dangerous, too boring, or too difficult for other species. They had worked in places where others would not go. They had solved problems that others had given up on. Counselor Thisera's crystal body flashed orange with worry. "I have been talking to my contacts in the Outer Rim. They say human colony ships have been seen in unexplored space, big ships moving very fast." This news made everyone stop talking. Unexplored space was supposed to be off-limits to junior council members like humanity. Only the oldest and most trusted species were allowed to claim new territory without permission. "How many ships?" asked Vextar. "My sources count at least 50 large vessels in the past 2 weeks, Thisera replied. "They appear to be colony ships, but they are much bigger than anything humans have built before. And they move faster than our best scouts." Security Chief Ralmon brought up a star map on the main screen. Red dots showed where human ships had been spotted. There were too many dots, spread across too much space. "If these reports are true," Ralmon said slowly, "then humans are expanding their territory faster than any species in recorded history. It should be impossible with their technology. But what if their technology was better than the Council knew?" This thought was starting to worry everyone. For 50 years, humans had used ships and tools that seemed simple compared to Council standards. Their weapons were basic, their computers were slow, their manufacturing was primitive, or so the Council had believed. "I want to see General Wu Jin's files," Vextar ordered. "Everything we have on human military capabilities." Wu Jin had been Earth's military representative to the Council for 20 years. He had attended every security meeting and strategy session. He had listened to discussions about alien weapons and tactics. He had asked many questions, always claiming he wanted to learn from superior alien knowledge. Now those questions seemed less innocent. The files appeared on screen, and what the council saw made them uncomfortable. Wu Jin had asked about everything: shield technology, weapon systems, ship design, battle tactics, logistics, communications, even psychological warfare. He had taken detailed notes on everything the Council's military experts had shared. "Look at this report from 10 years ago," said Ralmon, his voice tight with worry. "Wu Jin asked for permission to observe our war games. He said humans wanted to learn proper military procedures. The Council had been happy to let him watch. It had seemed like a good way to keep humanity dependent on Council protection. If humans understood how weak they were compared to real military powers, they would never try to cause trouble. We showed him everything," Ralmon continued. "Our ships, our weapons, our strategies. We thought we were teaching a student. What if we were actually briefing a spy?" Dr. Lithara was looking at different files. "The same pattern is everywhere. Dr. Kyung-soo asked questions about terraforming, asteroid mining, and food production. Engineer Hyojin wanted to know about space construction and orbital habitats. Every human in Council space was gathering information. The evidence was overwhelming when they looked for it. For 50 years, humans had been the best students the Council had ever taught. They had learned everything their teachers were willing to share. They had asked smart questions and remembered every answer. But students eventually graduate, and sometimes they become better than their teachers. "Get me a report on human space right now," Vextar ordered. "I want to know what they are really doing." The intelligence report that came back 2 days later was shocking. Human space was not the quiet, simple place the Council remembered. Long-range sensors detected massive construction projects on dozens of worlds. Energy readings showed industrial activity far beyond what human technology should allow. Most disturbing of all, there were signs of new colonies being built at impossible speed. Worlds that had been empty a month ago now showed cities and spaceports. "This cannot be right," said Trade Minister Gorthel. "It takes decades to build a proper colony. We have the best terraforming technology in the galaxy, and even we need years to make a planet livable." But the sensor data did not lie. Humans were building colonies faster than anyone thought possible. They were also building them in places that should have been too dangerous or too difficult to reach. "Send long-range probes," Vextar ordered. "I want visual confirmation of what they are doing." While they waited for the probe data, more bad news arrived. Several Council worlds were reporting shortages of essential goods. Medical supplies, computer parts, processed foods, and industrial equipment were all running low. "The humans made all of this?" asked Councillor Meshitar in disbelief. "Not just made," replied Dr. Lithara. "They also transported it, maintained it, and improved it. We have been so dependent on human workers that we forgot how to do these jobs ourselves." The younger species in the Council were starting to ask uncomfortable questions. Why had the leadership allowed one species to become so important? Why had no one noticed humanity's growing capabilities? How could an entire civilization just disappear from galactic society without warning? Vexitar had no good answers. The Council had always prided itself on wisdom and careful planning. They had guided the galaxy for thousands of years, preventing wars and maintaining peace. But somehow, they had completely missed the rise of a new power right under their noses. The probe data finally arrived, and it was worse than anyone had imagined. The images showed human cities that looked nothing like the simple settlements the Council remembered. These were advanced, beautiful places with technology that seemed almost magical. In one image, a human space elevator stretched from a planet's surface to a massive orbital station. In another, ships that looked like works of art moved between colonies with grace and speed that made Council vessels look clumsy. "How long have they been capable of this?" whispered Thyssera. No one answered, because no one knew. The humans had hidden their true abilities so well that even their closest alien friends had been fooled. As Vexitar looked at the images of humanity's new civilization, he realized that the galaxy had changed forever. The Council was no longer the only advanced power among the stars, and they had no idea what humanity planned to do with their freedom. The surveillance probes that the Galactic Council sent into human space lasted exactly 17 minutes before going silent. Not destroyed, not damaged, just gone. One moment they were sending back data, the next moment there was nothing but empty space where they had been. Chairman Vexitar stared at the blank screens in the Council's intelligence center. "What happened to them?" "We do not know, sir," replied Chief Intelligence Officer Krelvak. "The probes just stopped existing. Our sensors show no weapon fire, no explosions, no debris. It is like they were never there." This was impossible. The Council's surveillance probes were the most advanced spy technology in the galaxy. They were invisible to most sensors, heavily shielded, and designed to operate in any environment. Nothing should have been able to detect them, let alone make them disappear so completely. "Send more probes," Vexitar ordered. "Different types, different approaches." Over the next week, the Council sent 12 different spy missions into human space. Some used tiny nanoprobes that were almost impossible to detect. Others tried to hack into human communication networks from long range. A few attempted to disguise themselves as space debris or asteroids. All of them failed. Every probe, every spy device, every attempt to gather intelligence was stopped before it could learn anything useful. The humans were not just detecting the surveillance attempts. They were stopping them so easily that it seemed like child's play. "How are they doing this?" asked Dr. Lithara. She had been studying the sensor logs for days, trying to understand what had happened to the probes. "Our stealth technology is thousands of years ahead of anything humans had access to." The uncomfortable truth was becoming clear. Human technology was no longer thousands of years behind the Council. Somehow, somewhere, humanity had made a giant leap forward in their capabilities. Security Chief Ralmon brought disturbing news from the frontier. "Our border patrols report human ships in sectors that were supposed to be empty. These vessels appear out of nowhere, scan our ships, then vanish again before we can respond." "Vanish how?" asked Vexitar. "They just stop being there," Ralmon replied, clearly frustrated. Our best sensors show them 1 second, then nothing the next. It is not cloaking technology as we understand it. It is something else entirely. Captain Dongwu had been humanity's chief explorer for the Council. His job had been to map new star systems and look for planets that might be suitable for colonization. The Council had always thought his ships were slow and primitive, barely capable of long-range exploration. Now it seemed those same ships could appear and disappear at will, moving through space in ways that violated everything the Council knew about physics. "Get me Dongwu's exploration reports," Vexatar demanded. "I want to see everywhere he has been in the last 10 years. The reports painted a shocking picture. Dongwu had visited hundreds of star systems that the Council had marked as unexplored. He had mapped resources, identified habitable planets, and cataloged strategic positions throughout the galaxy, all while pretending to use outdated Council technology. He was not exploring for us, realized Counselor Thissera, her crystal body flashing red with alarm. He was exploring for humanity. They have been planning their expansion for years. The intelligence files revealed even more disturbing information. Engineer Haye Jin's infrastructure projects, which the Council had dismissed as small-scale human efforts, were actually test sites for massive construction technologies. The orbital platforms she built around minor human colonies were prototypes for the giant space stations now appearing throughout human space. "Look at this report from 5 years ago," said Dr. Lithara, pulling up an old file. He Jin requested information about Council construction methods. She said humans wanted to learn how to build proper space habitats. The Council had been happy to share their knowledge. They had given Haye Jin detailed plans for orbital construction, space elevators, and planetary infrastructure. They had thought they were helping a primitive species catch up to galactic standards. Instead, they had been giving advanced blueprints to an engineer who already understood technology they had never seen before. "We have been fools," said Trade Minister Gorthel, his tentacles drooping with shame. "They made us think they needed our help while they were actually studying us. The pattern was everywhere once they looked for it." Dr. Su Young had asked countless questions about Council physics and mathematics. Her research papers, which the Council had politely ignored as interesting but impractical, were actually groundbreaking work in quantum mechanics and space-time manipulation. The Council's scientists had dismissed her theories as impossible. Faster-than-light communication without using established hyperspace networks, instantaneous travel between distant points, matter manipulation at the quantum level, such things were fantasy, not science. But human ships were now demonstrating all of these impossible technologies. She was not asking for our approval, Dr. Lithara said quietly. She was checking to see if we understood what she was really working on. When we said her ideas were impossible, she knew we were already behind her. The realization hit the Council like a physical blow. For 50 years, humanity had been pretending to learn from superior alien knowledge. In reality, they had been far ahead of their teachers, studying them like scientists studying primitive specimens. Every question a human had asked was actually a test. Every piece of technology they had requested was something they already understood better than the aliens who gave it to them. Every expression of gratitude was carefully calculated to keep the council feeling superior and secure. "They played us perfectly," admitted Vextar. "We thought we were the wise teachers guiding a young species. They were actually the advanced civilization studying us." New reports arrived hourly, each one more alarming than the last. Human colonies were appearing in the most strategic locations throughout the galaxy. Resource-rich systems, trade route nexuses, defensive positions that controlled access to entire sectors of space. These were not random settlements. This was a carefully planned expansion that showed intimate knowledge of galactic geography, politics, and economics. Knowledge that should have taken centuries to acquire. "They knew exactly where to go," said Ralmon, studying the pattern of human expansion. "These locations are perfect for controlling trade and communication throughout the galaxy. It is like they had our strategic planning database." The horrible truth was that they probably did. General Wu Jin had sat in on every major council security briefing for 20 years. He had listened to discussions about military strategy, resource allocation, and galactic politics. He had asked thoughtful questions and taken careful notes. The council had thought they were educating a junior partner about galactic security. Actually, they had been briefing an enemy intelligence officer about their weaknesses and plans. "Send a message to all council members," Vextar ordered. "Emergency session tomorrow. Full attendance required." As word spread about the true scope of humanity's deception, panic began to grip the council worlds. If humans had been lying about their capabilities for 50 years, what else had they been hiding? How much did they really know about Council, technology, and weaknesses? Most frightening of all, what did humanity plan to do with their advanced technology and intimate knowledge of galactic civilization? The empty chair where Ambassador Tae-ho used to sit now seemed like a symbol of something, much larger than diplomatic withdrawal. It represented the end of the Council's dominance over galactic affairs. For the first time in thousands of years, there was another advanced civilization among the stars, one that the Council had underestimated, undervalued, and completely failed to understand. And this new civilization was no longer interested in following the Council's rules. The emergency council fleet moved toward human space with all the ceremony and power that the Galactic Council could gather. 50 warships from 12 different species, led by Admiral Zethkor in the massive dreadnought Eternal Glory. This was meant to be an impressive show of force, a reminder to humanity that the Council still ruled the galaxy. Chairman Vextar had approved the mission against his better judgment. The younger Council members demanded action. They could not accept that a junior species had simply walked away from galactic civilization. If humanity wanted to be stubborn, the Council would remind them who was in charge. "This is not an attack," Vextar had told Admiral Zethkor before the fleet departed. "This is a diplomatic mission with military escort. Show them our strength, but do not start a war." The Admiral had been confident. "Sir, we have the most advanced warships in the galaxy. Even if humans have made some improvements to their technology, they cannot match the combined might of the Council fleet." Now, 3 days later, Vextar was receiving reports that made his worst fears seem optimistic. "Contact lost with the advanced scouts," reported Communications Officer Veltar. Last transmission was from the edge of human space. They reported detecting massive energy signatures, then nothing. The main fleet had continued forward, expecting to find the human border patrol that usually watched the edge of their territory. Instead, they found something that should not have existed. "Sir," Admiral Zethkor's voice came over the long-range communicator, and he sounded shaken. "You need to see this data. Human space is different. The sensor readings that came back to the Council made no sense. Where there should have been a few patrol ships and warning beacons, the instruments detected a defensive network that spanned entire star systems. Energy readings showed weapon platforms that could destroy capital ships from distances measured in light minutes, shielding technology that made space itself seem solid." "That cannot be accurate," said Dr. Lethara, staring at the data. "Those energy readings are impossible. No civilization could build defenses that powerful." But the sensors did not lie. Humanity had turned the border of their space into a fortress that made the Council's best defenses look like children's toys. "Admiral, pull back and wait for orders," Vextar commanded. "Do not approach the human border." "Sir, with respect, we cannot pull back," came Zethkor's reply. "We are already inside human space. This should have been impossible. The fleet had not crossed any border markers or passed any checkpoints. They were still in what the charts showed as neutral space, at least 50 light-years from the nearest human colony." "Check your navigation, Admiral," Vextar ordered. "You cannot be in human space yet?" "Sir, we are being hailed by a human vessel. It appeared out of nowhere. The ship is... It is unlike anything we have ever seen." The transmission that came through made everyone in the council chambers stop breathing. On the main screen appeared Captain Il-sung, wearing a uniform that looked nothing like the simple clothes humans had always worn. Behind him, the bridge of his ship showed technology that seemed to bend light and space in impossible ways. "Council fleet," Il-sung said in perfect galactic standard, his voice calm and polite. "You are in Terran space without permission. This area is now under human protection. Please turn around and leave immediately." Admiral Zethkor's voice could be heard responding, though his image was not shown. "Captain, we are on a diplomatic mission. We have the right of passage through neutral space." Il-sung smiled, and the expression was not entirely friendly. "Admiral, there is no longer any neutral space here. The Terran Federation has claimed this entire sector. Your maps are outdated." "That is impossible," Zethkor protested. "You cannot claim territory without Council approval. It violates galactic law." "Galactic law applies to members of the Galactic Council," Il-sung replied. "Humanity is no longer a member. We make our own laws now." The implications of this statement hit the council chamber like a physical force. If humanity no longer recognized council authority, then all the treaties, agreements, and laws that had governed galactic civilization for thousands of years no longer applied to them. "You have 30 minutes to leave Terran space," Il-sung continued. "After that, we will consider your presence an act of aggression." The transmission cut off, leaving the council staring at an empty screen. "Admiral, get out of there now," Vextar ordered. "Sir, we are trying," Zethkor replied, and his voice was tight with fear. "Our navigation systems are not responding properly." It is like space itself is different here. Dr. Lithara was frantically checking the sensor data. The gravitational readings are wrong. The star positions do not match our charts. How is this possible? They are manipulating space-time, whispered Chief Scientist Mordan. The humans have technology that can alter the basic structure of reality. This was beyond anything the Council had imagined. Changing the layout of space itself was theoretical science, the kind of thing that advanced civilizations might achieve after millions of years of development. The Council had been studying such concepts for centuries without making any real progress. Humanity had somehow mastered it in secret. "Admiral, report," Vextar demanded. "Sir, we are leaving as requested," Zethkor replied. "The human ship is escorting us to the border. I need to show you something when we get back." "What do you mean?" "Sir, their ship is not moving through space. It is moving space around itself. The laws of physics do not seem to apply to them anymore." The Council fleet limped back to Nexus Prime 3 days later. What they brought with them was worse than defeat. They brought proof that humanity had become something the galaxy had never seen before. "Show me the recordings," Vextar ordered when Admiral Zethkor arrived in the Council chambers. The images from the fleet's sensors told a story that challenged everything the Council thought they knew about technology and power. The human ship had not moved like normal vessels. It had simply appeared in different places, as if distance meant nothing to it. When the Council fleet had tried to scan the human vessel, their instruments had detected impossible things. Matter that existed in multiple states at once, energy, patterns that folded back on themselves. Shielding that seemed to be made of compressed space-time. It was not just a ship, Admiral Zethkor reported. It was a demonstration. They wanted us to see what they could do. "Why?" asked Counselor Thisera. "To make sure we understood that resistance would be pointless," Zethkor replied. "Sir, if they have more ships like that one, they could destroy the entire Council fleet without effort." The recordings showed other disturbing details. Human space was much larger than the Council had believed. What they had thought were the borders of human territory were actually just the outer edges of a vast empire that stretched across dozens of star systems. "Look at these energy readings," said Dr. Lithara, pointing to the sensor data. "Every system we detected shows signs of massive industrial activity. They are not just expanding their territory. They are transforming it." Trade Minister Gorth Ul was studying the economic implications. If these readings are accurate, human industrial capacity now exceeds that of the entire Council. They could build fleets that would make our combined navies look like toys. The final insult came in the form of a message that arrived shortly after the fleet returned. It was addressed to Chairman Vextar personally from someone who signed himself as Director Namsik of Terran Intelligence. "Chairman Vextar," the message read, "your fleet was impressive by the standards we remember from our time in the Council. Unfortunately, galactic technology has advanced significantly since then. We suggest you focus on internal affairs and avoid further intrusions into Terran space, for your own safety." The message was polite, almost friendly. But the threat was clear. The Council's most powerful fleet had been effortlessly outclassed by a single human vessel. If they tried to challenge humanity again, the results would be even more humiliating. As Vextar read the message, he realized that the galaxy had already changed in ways the Council could not reverse. Humanity was not just independent now. They were superior, and they were being very patient about it. The first supply shipment failed to arrive at Kepler Station on schedule. Then the second shipment was delayed. By the third week, the station's administrator was sending desperate messages to the Galactic Council, begging for emergency supplies. Chairman Vexitar read the reports with growing dread. Kepler Station was one of the Council's most important research facilities, home to thousands of scientists from dozens of species. It should have been completely self-sufficient, like all major Council installations. "What do they need that they cannot make themselves?" Vextar asked. Dr. Lithara pulled up the supply manifest. Food processors, water purification systems, atmospheric recyclers, computer components, medical supplies, maintenance equipment. She paused, her voice trailing off as she realized the scope of the problem. "All made by humans," Vextar finished. For her, the truth was becoming impossible to ignore. Over 50 years of trade with humanity, the Council had gradually become dependent on human manufacturing, not because they had to, but because humans made things better, cheaper, and more reliably than anyone else. "How much of our infrastructure depends on human-made components?" Vextar asked. Trade Minister Gorthul had been dreading this question. "Approximately 40% of our technology contains human-manufactured parts. 60% of our food comes from human agricultural systems. 70% of our transportation network relies on human-maintained equipment." The numbers were staggering. Without realizing it, the Galactic Council had allowed humanity to become the backbone of galactic civilization. Now that backbone was gone, and everything was starting to collapse. "We can replace these things," insisted Councillor Meshatar. "Our own industries can pick up the slack." But the reports coming in from across Council space told a different story. The Zephyrians could not restart their old manufacturing plants because they had scrapped them decades ago in favor of buying cheaper human products. The Nebulites had forgotten how to maintain their atmospheric systems because humans had been doing it for them for 20 years. Even the proud hive mind collective discovered that their workers no longer knew how to perform tasks that humans had taken over. "It will take years to rebuild our industrial capacity," admitted Industrial Coordinator Velnoth. "Maybe decades. Our people have become soft." This was the word no one wanted to say. Soft, dependent, weak. The great species of the Galactic Council, rulers of the galaxy for thousands of years, had been quietly reduced to helpless children while they thought they were the wise adults. "What about our research projects?" asked Dr. Lithara. "The quantum resonance experiment? The stellar engineering project? The terraforming initiative?" "All stalled," came the reply. Dr. Kyung-Soo was the lead researcher on quantum resonance. Engineer Hai-Jin designed the stellar engineering systems. Without them, we cannot even understand our own projects, let alone continue them. This was perhaps the most humiliating discovery of all. The Council's greatest scientific achievements of the past 20 years had actually been human achievements. The aliens had provided funding and resources, but the real work had been done by human minds. "We have been living in a fantasy," Vextar said quietly. "We thought we were the advanced civilization teaching primitive humans. In reality, they were the advanced civilization keeping us functional." Reports continued to flood in from across the galaxy. Agricultural worlds could not process their crops without human-designed equipment. Mining colonies could not extract resources without human-operated machinery. Even the Council's military was discovering that their most advanced weapons contained human-made components that they could not replace. "Our defense platforms around Nexus Prime are operating at 30% efficiency," reported Security Chief Ralmon. "The targeting systems were designed by human technicians. Without their maintenance, the systems are gradually failing. If the capital world of the Galactic Council could not defend itself without human help, what did that say about the Council's real power?" "Sir," Communications Officer Veltar interrupted, "we are receiving reports of unrest on several Council worlds. The younger species are questioning the leadership's competence." This was what Vexitar had been afraid of. The Galactic Council's authority had always been based on the belief that they were the most advanced, most capable rulers in the galaxy. If that belief crumbled, what would hold the Council together? "What kind of unrest?" he asked. "The Deltarians are threatening to withdraw from the Council," Veltar replied. "They say if the leadership could not detect humanity's true capabilities, how can they be trusted to protect Deltarian interests?" "The Proxima Alliance is making similar noises," added Counselor Thyssera. "They want to know why they should follow rules made by people who were completely deceived by a single species." The political crisis was spreading faster than the economic one. Species that had been loyal council members for centuries were starting to question whether the council deserved their obedience. "Get me a secure channel to the Deltarian ambassador," Vextar ordered. "I need to speak with him personally." But when the call went through, Ambassador Morkesh was not interested in reassurances. "Chairman," he said coldly, "my government has lost confidence in the Council's ability to govern. We are considering our options. The Council has maintained galactic peace for thousands of years," Vextar protested. "One mistake does not erase that history." "One mistake?" Morkesh's laugh was bitter. "Chairman, you allowed an entire civilization to surpass you technologically while pretending to be your students. You became dependent on them for basic survival, while thinking you were their teachers. This is not a mistake. This is complete institutional failure." The call ended abruptly, leaving Vextar staring at a blank screen. Other calls to council members yielded similar results. The authority that had seemed unshakable just months ago was crumbling like sand. "Sir," said Dr. Lethera quietly, "there is something else you need to see." She brought up a new report on the main screen. It showed intelligence gathered by the few spies the Council still had in neutral space. Human colonies were expanding faster than ever, but they were not just growing randomly. They were specifically targeting systems that would cut off major Council trade routes. "They are isolating us," Dr. Lethera explained. "Every new human colony is positioned to control a strategic choke point. If they wanted to, they could cut off trade between Council worlds entirely. "Are they threatening to do this?" asked Vextar. "No," Dr. Lithara replied. "That is what makes it so frightening. They are not making threats. They are just quietly taking positions that would let them control the entire galaxy if they chose to." This was strategy on a level that the Council had never imagined. Humanity was not just leaving galactic civilization. They were positioning themselves to replace it entirely. "What do our strategic analysts say about this?" Vexatar asked. Security Chief Ralmon answered, his voice heavy with defeat. "They say that if current trends continue, the Terran Federation will control more territory and resources than the Galactic Council within 5 years. Within 10 years, they will be the dominant power in the galaxy. And there is nothing we can do to stop it?" "Sir," Ralmon said carefully, "our analysts cannot even figure out how they are moving so fast or building so much with such small populations. Their capabilities exceed our understanding of what is possible." As if summoned by their conversation, a new message arrived addressed to the Galactic Council. It was from someone identified as Economic Coordinator Boram of the Terran Federation. "To our former colleagues in the Galactic Council," the message began, "we have noticed that some Council worlds are experiencing supply shortages. While the Terran Federation is no longer bound by Council trade agreements, we are willing to provide emergency humanitarian aid to prevent suffering among civilian populations." The message went on to list specific supplies that humanity was willing to provide at costs far below what Council manufacturers were charging. Food, medicine, basic equipment, all available for immediate delivery. "They are offering to save us," whispered Trade Minister Gorthel, "at a fraction of what our own people charge." The humiliation was complete. The Galactic Council, rulers of the galaxy, were being offered charity by the species they had thought of as their junior partners. And the worst part was that they desperately needed that charity to survive. 6 months after humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, Chairman Vextar stood alone in the great chamber where it had all begun. The once proud hall now felt empty and cold, with half the seats vacant. 12 species had left the Council. In the past month alone, the transformation of the galaxy had been swift and complete. Human space now stretched across a third of known territory, with new colonies appearing weekly in places that the Council's charts still marked as unexplored. But these were not the desperate expansions of a struggling civilization. Every human settlement was a masterpiece of planning and technology. "Sir," Communications Officer Veltar announced, "Explorer Ji-Ho is requesting permission to broadcast on all Council frequencies." Vextar almost smiled at the irony. Ji-Ho had once been humanity's humble representative for deep space exploration. He had always asked politely for permission to visit new star systems, claiming that human ships needed Council guidance to navigate safely. Now those same ships had mapped more territory in 6 months than the Council had explored in the past. "Century." "Let him speak," Vextar said. He was curious to hear what humanity had to say to their former teachers. Ji-Ho appeared on the main screen, but he looked nothing like the quiet explorer the Council remembered. His uniform was elegant and clearly advanced, with materials that seemed to shift and shimmer in the light. Behind him, the bridge of his ship showed technology that looked more like art than machinery. "People of the galaxy," Jiho began, his voice carrying easily across the communication networks. "I bring greetings from the Terran Federation and news of our continued exploration of the universe." The transmission was being broadcast on every frequency, reaching every inhabited world in council space. Millions of beings across dozens of species were listening to a human speak as an equal to the Galactic Council. In the past 6 months, Jiho continued, Terran exploration teams have charted over 300 new star systems. We have discovered 47 habitable worlds, 13 new intelligent species, and resource deposits that could supply the entire galaxy for thousands of years. These numbers were staggering. The Council's best exploration efforts had never achieved a fraction of such success. But Jiho was not finished. More importantly, we have confirmed what we long suspected. The galaxy is far larger and more wonderful than the Galactic Council ever imagined. There are entire regions of space teeming with life and possibility that have never been touched by galactic civilization. Images began appearing on screen showing incredible vistas of new worlds. Cities that floated in the clouds of gas giants, crystal forests on worlds with purple skies, ocean planets where intelligent whales built underwater civilizations. Each image was more beautiful and impossible than the last. The Terran Federation extends an invitation to all species currently under Council governance, Jiho announced. You are welcome to join us in exploring these new frontiers, as equals and partners in discovery. The implications of this offer sent shockwaves through the Council chamber. Humanity was not just leaving galactic civilization. They were offering to replace it with something better. But first, Jiho continued, you should know the truth about your current leadership. What followed was a systematic exposure of everything the Council had tried to hide. Scientific reports that had been suppressed, economic data that had been falsified, military capabilities that had been exaggerated. 50 years of careful intelligence gathering had given humanity a complete picture of the Council's weaknesses and failures. The Galactic Council has ruled through deception and artificial scarcity, Jiho explained calmly. They convinced you that resources were limited, that territory was scarce, that only they had the wisdom to guide galactic civilization. All of this was false. Charts appeared showing the true extent of galactic resources. The galaxy contained enough material to support trillions of beings living in abundance. There was no need for the careful rationing and strict territorial limits that the Council had imposed. The Council maintained control by keeping you dependent and afraid, Jiho continued. They told you that the galaxy was dangerous, that only their protection kept you safe from unknown threats, but the only thing you needed protection from was their own limitations. Dr. Lithara watched the broadcast with growing horror. Every classified report, every secret analysis, every hidden truth about the Council's governance was being revealed to the entire galaxy. Humanity had not just been gathering intelligence, they had been preparing a complete indictment of the Council's rule. The Terran Federation operates on different principles, Jiho announced. We believe that all intelligent species have the right to grow, explore, and achieve their full potential. We do not seek to rule others or limit their development. We seek to learn and share knowledge as equals. Images showed human colonies where multiple species work together as partners. Alien children playing in schools designed by human architects. Scientists from a dozen different worlds collaborating on projects that the Council had declared impossible. Any species that wishes to join the Terran Federation is welcome, Jiho concluded. Any species that prefers independence will be respected and supported. The only thing we will not tolerate is the kind of authoritarian control that has held the galaxy back for so long. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. How many worlds are watching this? Vextar asked quietly. All of them, Veltar replied. Every inhabited planet in council space received the broadcast. Estimated audience, 47 billion beings. It was over. In less than an hour, humanity had destroyed the Galactic Council's credibility more completely than any war or revolution could have achieved. They had simply told the truth about what the Council really was, and offered something better in its place. Sir, Security Chief Ralmon reported, we are receiving withdrawal notices from the Deltarian Republic, the Proxima Alliance, the Centauri Collective, and 15 other member species. They are formally requesting to join the Terran Federation. Reports flooded in over the following hours. The great species that had formed the core of the Council for thousands of years were abandoning it en masse, not fleeing in fear, but walking away calmly toward a better future. What about us? Asked Dr. Lithara. What happens to the Council now? Before Vextar could answer, a personal message arrived on his private terminal. It was from President Mijin of Earth, the human leader who had announced humanity's withdrawal 6 months ago. Chairman Vexitar, the message read, the Terran Federation recognizes the historical importance of the Galactic Council and the peace you maintained for thousands of years. While we cannot support the Council's continued governance, we respect the contribution you made to galactic civilization. If the remaining Council species wish to join the Federation as equals, you will be welcome. If you prefer to maintain independence while reforming your governance, we will provide assistance and protection. The choice is yours. The galaxy is large enough for many different forms of civilization to thrive. We hope you will choose to be part of the future we are building together. The message was signed simply, Mijin, President of Earth and First, Speaker of the Terran Federation. Even in victory, the humans were offering mercy to those who had once considered themselves their superiors. Vextar looked around the empty chamber where the Galactic Council had once ruled the galaxy. Now it was just a room full of memories and broken dreams. But perhaps, he thought, it could become something else. The humans had shown that growth and change were possible, even for civilizations that thought they had reached their peak. Schedule a vote, he told his remaining staff. The Council will decide whether to join the Terran Federation or attempt independent reform. As his words echoed in the nearly empty chamber, Vextar realized that the age of the Galactic Council was ending. But maybe Just maybe, something better was beginning. The humans had not conquered the galaxy through force or threat. They had simply shown everyone what was possible when intelligence, creativity, and cooperation replaced fear, control, and limitation. And in doing so, they had changed the universe forever. Outside the great windows of the council chamber, the stars shone, as they always had. But now they no longer seemed distant and cold. They seemed full of possibility, beckoning all the species of the galaxy toward a future brighter than anything the old council had ever imagined. The age of human leadership in the galaxy had begun not with conquest, but with an invitation to join them among the stars as equals.